But Islam is quite patriarchal, isn't it? I mean, doesn't the Quran say that men have authority over women?
Following the Quran to the letter, oppressing women. A woman in a hijab means you are shameful to look at, you are dirty to look at, therefore you need to be covered because you are a walking sin.
And comes straight from the Quran, where it gives an element of superiority and authority to the male. Divorce is not something that women can seek independently if they were to abide by the traditional Islamic narratives.
It helped me free myself from its shackles. So I finally understood what it feels like to be free, to think for myself and to take my own decisions without even having to refer first to a religious scripture.
There's no principle that demeans, degrades, and dehumanizes women more than the principle of Sharia law.
When it comes to Islam, many assume it oppresses women or needs feminism, but that overlooks history. Islam gave women rights in the 7th century, long before Western feminism even began. Under Islamic law, Muslim women throughout history led, taught, governed, traded, fought, and shaped civilization. Khadija bint Khuwaylid, the wife of the Prophet, was a successful businesswoman who employed the Prophet and funded the early Islamic movement. Aisha, another one of his wives, narrated over 2,200 hadith and was a leading scholar in law, medicine, and theology. Khawla bint al-Azwar, one of the companions of the Prophet, fought as a warrior, once rescuing her brother in battle disguised as a knight. Nusayba bint Ka'b, another companion of the Prophet, defended him in battle and helped negotiate treaties. al-Darda taught Islamic law in mosques and advised caliphs. Male scholars like Imam Bukhari cited her. Maryam al-Asturlabi built astrolabes that mapped the stars, while the West was burning thinking women, calling them witches. Sutayta al-Mahmili, in 10th century Baghdad, solved complex inheritance equations and ran her own business. Fatima al-Fihri founded the world's first university, Al-Qarawiyyin, in 859 CE. Labna of Cordoba, a mathematician and poet, led in a time when Europe barred women from books. Zainab al-Shahda was a master calligrapher whose work was prized by rulers and scholars. Sadr al-Dur ruled Egypt as sultan, not through marriage, but by power and merit. Razia Sultana ruled Delhi as sultan, not sultana, refusing to be defined by gender. Throughout history, women have been silenced, oppressed, deprived of their rights, or even their lives. But the advent of Islam changed everything. Before Islam, baby girls were buried alive. Women had no inheritance and were treated as property. Islam abolished these injustices, calling female infanticide a grave sin. Islam gave women rights centuries ahead of the West. To consent to marriage, seek divorce, pursue education, work, and be safe from abuse. So why is there a gap between what Islam teaches and how some Muslim societies treat women? Across the world, throughout history, India, Europe, North and South America, and beyond, in various religions and cultures, women have been oppressed through forced marriages, child marriages, denial of education, and more. For example, in Christianity, women were forced to marry their rapist. Women were silenced in churches. Women were subordinate to men. In Hinduism, women were and still are burned as sati along with their late husband. Child marriage and female subordination was and is an ongoing issue in Hindu societies. And similar concepts are found in Judaism, Buddhism, and other religions. However, when such practices occur in Muslim communities, it is not due to Islam. These practices have been adopted by Muslims from local traditions and cultures of the area they belong, which contradict Islam. These practices are not part of Islam at all. Islam is clear, what is in the Quran and Sahih Hadith. A woman must consent to her marriage. A father may suggest a suitor, but her permission is required. Muslims must reach maturity for marriage. Muslim women have the right to seek divorce, centuries before it was possible in many other faiths. So let's be clear, when Muslim women are denied rights, it's not because of Islam, it's because of the ignorance of Islam. But is Islam patriarchal? The truth is, Throughout the history of mankind, men have been the ones in power, sometimes unfairly, even oppressively. They've denied women rights, silenced their voices, and claimed dominance. That's a reality. But let's be honest and look at the other side of the coin. Without what you call patriarchy, the world would be a hellscape for women. Because no matter how uncomfortable or inferior or demeaning it sounds, women do not have the power to coerce or restrain men the way men can control other men. For example, let's just say a woman is out and a man approaches her and tries to chat her up. She doesn't want that attention, so what does she do? Shows him her ring or tells him, "I have a boyfriend. I'm married." And suddenly, he backs off. Women have to invoke an imaginary man to make a real one leave them alone. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, only a man can keep another man in check. Men are inherently more aggressive, more physically dominant, and that means only they can restrain each other. But what does Islam have to say about this? According to the Quran, the God made men protectors of women. The God gave men a responsibility they have to bear to maintain and look after womankind. Hence, they have a degree, an advantage, a responsibility over womankind. In Islam, there is no patriarchy. Everyone follows the law of the one true God. And the one true God has assigned men the role of a protector, a maintainer of woman. And women have been assigned the role of being submissive and obedient to their husbands, their protectors, and guard themselves in the absence of their protectors, what the God orders them to guard. And which really makes more sense? A woman protecting a man or a man protecting a woman? Who's more capable of protecting whom from whom? If men didn't take responsibility for women, if they weren't assigned a role of protector, would women really be safer? No. Men would do whatever they wanted. Women would be vulnerable, exposed, and unprotected. If your protector tells you, "Don't go down that road," or "Let's take a different route," it's not because he wants to control you. It's because he's keeping you safe. Yes, that's authority. Yes, that means you have to listen to him. But it's not oppression. It's protection. It's responsibility. He has a degree, an advantage over you. On the other hand, modern feminism often measures empowerment by competing with men or adopting secular ideals. Modern feminism sometimes equates empowerment with hypersexualization, praising industries like OnlyFans as liberating, even though many women enter them out of financial pressure, not empowerment. Early feminists warned against confusing objectification with freedom, but those concerns are now dismissed as sex negative. At the same time, women who choose traditional roles like homemaking, marriage, or motherhood are mocked or labeled trad wives, as if they've betrayed feminism. But real feminism should defend all women's choices, not just those that fit a certain agenda. But even though modern feminism doesn't universally devalue modesty and piousness, the movement predominantly encourages women to adapt visual and physical sexualization as if sexualization is freedom and empowering, and modesty and piousness being weakness and shackles. Islam doesn't see women as rivals to men or as lesser beings. It promotes complementarity, justice, and balance, and not gender rivalry. Islam defines empowerment differently, through divinely revealed rights, dignity, and individual accountability before the one true God.